and more resilience to change. How does this magic work? When attention wasn't so totally captured by the intensity of the moment that awareness fades, we're able to observe ourselves more closely and consistently. Attention and awareness provide the unconscious mind with no real-time information that is directly relevant to what's happening right now. Unconscious processes are informed that the reactions they're producing aren't appropriate in the current situation, harming more than helping. With this new information, reprogramming can happen at the deepest levels of the unconscious. And the longer we can be mindful in a particular situation, the more new information becomes available, and the more mindfulness can work its magic. However, the magic of mindfulness doesn't end with the event itself. Consciousness can continue to pick up on and communicate the consequences of the event and their effects on a mental state long afterward. So the duration of mindfulness is important, as is consistency. The more consistently we can apply mindfulness to similar situations in the future, the more its magic can change our conditioning. Whenever some event triggers one of our invisible programs, we have the chance to apply mindfulness to the situation, so our unconscious conditioning can get reprogrammed. Anytime we're truly mindful of our reactions and their consequences, it can alter the way we will react in the future. Every time we experience a similar situation, our emotional reactions will get weaker, and, as long as we stay mindful enough, we give our unconscious processes new information, and we will be more successful in the future. With repeated effort, we will become less reactive, maybe blind ignorance. Even if we lose mindfulness completely in the heat of the moment, we can still use it afterward to reflect on what happened, our reactions, and their impact on ourselves and others. By recalling the events vividly, examining them honestly and non-judgmentally, it will begin the process of reprogramming, which in turn makes it easier to stay mindful in the future. This is quite different from what usually happens. Because it's always painful to revisit a situation that made us uncomfortable, we typically like to put it out of our minds. Or if we can't, we try to justify what we did and place the blame elsewhere. This keeps vital new information from reaching our unconscious mental processes. Mindful examining our actions also means that we look objectively at our feelings about how we acted. We may say that we feel guilty, for example, and acknowledge that feeling guilty is an unpleasant consequence of our actions. But we shouldn't become submerged in our emotion. If you do find yourself getting caught up in self-reproach, you're just reacting from and reinforcing more unwholesome programming. Of course, it's much harder to stay mindful when everyone is in difficult situations. That's why we need to intentionally practice mindfulness in everyday life, especially when it's easy, like when you're driving a car early in the morning. Then you'll build up the skill and the mental muscle to stay mindful in the face of greater challenges. Number 3. Reprogramming deep conditioning. In daily life, even for mindful every moment, unskillful conditioning can only get reprogrammed when something triggers it. So, while it's essential to practice in daily life, mindfulness in formal meditation is even more effective because we don't have to wait for something to trigger an unconscious program to practice with. Instead, when our minds grow stable and quiet, all kinds of deep memories, thoughts, and emotions that drive our unconscious programs can come to the surface. Then they can be purified by the illuminating power of mindfulness. The reprogramming that occurs in meditation also transforms the way we think, feel, and act in more radical and broadly effective ways. That's because the unconscious conditioning that emerges is of a more fundamental nature, driving a wide range of reactive behaviors that would otherwise require many different triggering events. Conditioning of such a fundamental nature usually remains deeply hidden, but can surface in the stillness of meditation. Therefore, the application of mindfulness in meditation can rapidly accomplish much more than ever could be by the piecemeal process of confronting conditioning in daily life. To really understand and appreciate this deep purification of mind, it helps to consider how past experiences shape and condition our lives in the present. Recall that every experience leaves an imprint in our minds. The more emotionally powerful the experience, the stronger the imprint. Most of us have a large backlog of imprints from emotionally charged or traumatic events that don't fit in with the person we've become. These unresolved pieces of our personal history remain deeply buried in the psyche. Often they are too painful or involve too much internal conflict for us to confront and resolve head-on. The events themselves may have been forgotten, but the unconscious conditioning they left behind influences our behavior in ways we often don't recognize. Some of our conditioned reactions may help us, but many don't. And even helpful conditioning can appear at inappropriate times or in inappropriate ways. Consider, for example, the psychological challenges many war veterans face on return to civilian life when previously useful combat training gets in the way of readjusting to the everyday world. This is because whenever our past condition is triggered, it creates strong emotions that drive us to behave in specific ways. Each person's conditioned behavior, the way he or she typically acts and reacts, is absolutely unique. In fact, what we call personality is precisely this set of behaviors. And while having personality is a wonderful thing, most people have personality traits that aren't particularly useful. Some traits are simply harmful, but with mindfulness, we can purify that deep conditioning and change our personality for the better. This purification occurs mainly in stage 4, but also at stage 7. Level 4. Mindfulness, insight, and the end of suffering. Unquestionably, the most valuable effect of mindfulness is its ability to radically reprogram our deepest misconceptions about the nature of reality and about who and what we are. Our gut intuition tells us we are separate selves in a world of other people and objects, and that our individual suffering and happiness depend on external circumstances. This may seem like common sense, but it's a misperception that comes from our innate programming, and which is continually reinforced by cultural conditioning. As we practice mindfulness, however, we accumulate more and more evidence that things are very different from what we believed. In particular, the thoughts and feelings and memories we associate with a sense of self are seen more objectively, revealing themselves to be constantly changing, impersonal, and often contradictory processes occurring in different parts of the mind. These are insight experiences. When mindfulness allows them to sink in on an experiential level, it profoundly reprograms our intuitive view of reality, transforming a person in a wonderful way. If we believe we're separate selves who need certain external things to be happy, we'll spontaneously act out of that territorial feeling, causing harm to ourselves and others. As paradoxical as it may seem, the craving to avoid suffering and pursue pleasure is the actual cause of suffering. But when we let go of our self-centeredness, we automatically act more objectively for the good of everybody in each situation. Then we will have discovered the true source of happiness and the end of suffering. This is how mindfulness overcomes sorrow and grief and brings release from all the suffering. You may be understandably skeptical about what I'm saying. You may even doubt that such a transformation is desirable. That's all right. Use the illuminating power of mindfulness to explore these very questions. Are you your thoughts? Are you your feelings? Keep asking these questions. As your meditation improves, you'll find out for yourself. A metaphor for the levels of mindfulness. Here's a metaphor to help you remember the different levels at which mindfulness works. Say you regularly walk in the countryside along a narrow trail with a thorn bush growing alongside it. As you start practicing mindfulness, you become present enough in daily life to recognize your options and moderate your behavior, so you're able to dodge the thorn bush, keeping your face from getting scratched or having a thorn rip a hole in your shirt. This is the first level of mindfulness. Yet the thorn bush will still be there, and if you aren't mindful tomorrow, you'll get snagged then. In other words, nothing changes in the long term. There is no magic involved in this kind of mindfulness. The magic only starts when mindfulness begins to work at the second level. When you're mindful enough in daily life, and for long enough and often enough, then consciousness can communicate the actual context and consequences of your conditioned reactions to their unconscious sources. This produces real change. It's like trimming the branches of the thorn bush hanging across your path. However, it can take a lot of trimming to clear the path, and new branches are always growing to replace them. This thorn bush has many trunks that grow from a single root. The special magic of the third level of mindfulness, the kind that happens on the cushion, is like cutting off an entire trunk at the root. When it's gone, all its branches and thorns go with it, not just the ones that happen to grow into your immediate path. And every time you purify an aspect of your deep conditioning and meditation, another major trunk is removed. Yet if the tree's root still survives, new trunks can grow back. Unless you remain vigilant, you may find that the path once again becomes overgrown. Only the fourth level of mindfulness, the insight of awakening, will finally destroy the root, meaning the thorn bush never grows back. Stage 4. Continuous attention and overcoming gross distraction and strong dullness. 4. The goal for Stage 4 is to overcome gross distraction and strong dullness. Set and hold the intention to be vigilant so that introspective awareness becomes continuous, and notice and immediately correct for strong dullness and gross distraction. Eventually, noticing and correcting become completely automatic. Practice goals for Stage 4. You begin this stage with a clear sense that your attention is much more stable and continuous, and compared to previous stages, it certainly is. However, your attention still alternates, shifting almost imperceptibly fast to a sound, thought, or feeling, then returning to the breath. The meditation object always remains in attention, but not exclusively. The primary goal at this stage is to overcome the scattering of attention caused by gross distraction and strong dullness. To accomplish this, you need to develop continuous introspective awareness, allowing you to detect these problems, correct them, and return your full attention to the meditation object. While you want to completely overcome the coarser forms of distraction and dullness, you will learn to tolerate and even make use of Distracting sensations. In this stage, they become much more noticeable. During stage 3, you experienced pain and discomfort because you weren't used to sitting still for long periods. Now, pain becomes a way for the mind to resist practicing. Your mind will tend to magnify ordinary discomforts. It will even create painful sensations that have no physical cause, especially during longer sits or meditation retreats. Such pain often disappears once you make it the focus of your attention, only to show up elsewhere a little later. Regardless of its source, pain must now be confronted as part of your practice. Of course, you don't have to seek out pain, and don't suppress or ignore pain that has a definite physical origin. If you suspect your pain may be due to injury or disease but aren't sure, it's best to consult a physician. You wouldn't want your sitting posture to exacerbate any already existing condition, like an arthritic knee or a twisted ankle. You should make yourself as comfortable as possible to keep the body from interfering with training the mind. Use pillows, pads, or anything else to compensate for sensitive areas. Just remember that even with these adjustments, you will still experience unpleasant sensations. You've already learned the basic strategy for dealing with pain. Ignore unpleasant sensations as long as possible, make them your meditation object if they persist, and move mindfully only when absolutely necessary. However, at this stage, you must examine the pain even more thoroughly and wait even longer before moving. Pain is a dynamic sensation with many subtle qualities. Investigate them. Notice if it is sharp, piercing, burning, aching, dull, etc. Notice if the sensation feels solid and unchanging, or if it fluctuates in intensity, area, or location. Investigate whether your pain is one sensation or a composite of several. Search within the sensation for the source of the unpleasantness. How much of the pain you're experiencing is inherent in the sensation, and how much is your mind's reaction to the sensation? This kind of in-depth exploration will help you become as objective as possible when dealing with pain. At first, focusing on pain may only seem to intensify it, yet after sustained investigation, pain often resolves itself. It does so in 3 ways. Its intensity may fade entirely, it may continue as a strong sensation, but no longer feels particularly painful, or it may stay painful, but can be effectively disregarded. The reason pain dissipates is because you have stopped resisting and started to accept its presence. Meditation teacher Shinzen Yun puts this into a mathematical formula. The amount of suffering, S, you experience, is equal to the actual pain, P, times the mind's resistance, R, to the pain. So S equals P times R. If you stop resisting completely, then R equals 0. Pain multiplied by 0 equals 0. The suffering you are experiencing totally dissolves. But if you expect this to happen every time, it won't. This is because the expectation that your pain will disappear leads you back toward resistance and non-acceptance. When pain disappears completely, or continues in a form you can ignore, always return to the sensations of the breath. Repeat the entire process as necessary. Sometimes painful sensations just don't go away. When this happens, stay with the pain as your meditation object. Don't be discouraged. You can train the mind just as effectively using pain as you can with the sensations of the breath. In fact, there are certain advantages to using pain. Because it draws your attention so intensely, you're less likely to experience dullness and distraction. Also, because pain generates many thoughts and emotions, it is easier to maintain strong introspective awareness. In other words, pain is quite useful for developing stable attention and powerful mindfulness. Make good use of it. Unavoidable physical discomfort is also an opportunity to discover the true nature of pain. You will eventually learn to distinguish between physical discomfort as a sensation and the mind's unnecessary reaction to it, which is suffering. In the words of the Buddha, when the uninstructed worldling experiences a painful feeling, he feels 2 things, a bodily one and a mental one. When the instructed noble disciple experiences a painful feeling, he feels 1 thing, a bodily one, and not a mental one. Pain disappears completely in the later stages. The problem of discursive brilliance. Seemingly brilliant insights are a much more pleasant kind of gross distraction. For instance, you may find new ways of dealing with personal problems, or you may gain insights into your mind and behavior, or into profound philosophical and metaphysical concepts. These insights can emerge unbidden from the unconscious, appearing in peripheral awareness, and tempting you to take notice. Other times, they suddenly spring onto center stage. These insights are often quite valid and very useful, which is what makes them so seductive as potential distractions. Why do they arise now, at this stage? By this time, your attention has grown more stable and your mindfulness more powerful. Therefore, your mind is better able to create and link novel ideas together, and can better appreciate the significance of those ideas. If you choose to pursue thinking about them, keeping your breath in peripheral awareness, you will be pleasantly surprised by how much your powers of discursive thinking have improved. In fact, your focus will be stronger than ever. You will feel excited and satisfied when you reflect on some brilliant conclusion.
But then it becomes difficult to return to the breath, which usually leads you to look for something else to think about, or to get up from the cushion altogether. You may